Okay, so this is the first workshop of our cloud computing workshop series, and I'm Harsha Pitola, and welcome everyone, and hope you will enjoy this workshop series. And just uh, what I found from those who registered, like the participants, all of you guys here have like some exposure and no exposure to the cloud. So that is the kind of audience that I'm targeting this. So like if you have like significant exposure in the cloud, maybe this would be kind of little beginner for you. But if you want to get like your start on the cloud, this would be the ideal place for you. Just keep that in mind. So let me introduce you myself first. I'm currently working as a site reliability engineer at Pearson, specializing in the architecting serverless solutions with infrastructure as code tools. So these jargons may sound unfamiliar for you at the time, but throughout this workshop, we will learn what is this infrastructure as code, what is serverless. So they will be very much familiar to you. So I got I got one AWS certification somewhere in July 2020, associate architect associate certificate, and I became AWS community builder in February this year. So I also graduated from the University of Iowa Master's Program in December 2019, and I currently possess over 5+ years experience in cloud products. So you are in safe hands. And about Pearson, my employer, I want to say something because they highly encourage me doing this workshop volunteer stuff for the community. So it's good to say something about the Pearson. So it's one of the leaders in the education products and tools in US. They moved to cloud computing somewhere in 2013, and their offices are spread across US and globe around in like 70 countries. And we really value the diversity, and employee growth and learning is highly encouraged at Pearson. For instance, if you want to do a master's program or any follower certification, your tuition, you could get reimbursement for your tuition. And if you want to do a certification, you can get your exam fees reimbursed. Or if you follow a particular course, you can get those course expenses reimbursed. So employee growth is highly encouraged. One second, we have new participants joining us. Okay. So, and we are, Pearson is one of the leading public sector customers of AWS. And in terms of work-life balance, we can have an excellent work-life balance at Pearson, being one of the tech companies in the industry. So, if I move on to the objectives of this workshop, the first thing, like I want to enhance your awareness about cloud computing, because as a past graduate from the University of Iowa, I know how hard it is to focus outside your coursework or your research work, because you don't want to miss your deadlines. You want to get your assignments, homeworks done on time, and you focus on your mid exams, you focus on your finals, and there is hardly any time for you to work on cloud computing type of stuff. So this kind of workshop, I hope would help to improve that awareness among you on the cloud computing. Then, if you are ready to graduate in a semester or two, or if you want to do an internship anytime soon, you should be able to take up the roles as cloud engineers and perform well. after following this workshop, because I'm going to teach you some cloud services, how to use them, how you can troubleshoot issues in them, those kind of stuff. So if you are planning to get an internship or full-time position, this workshop could help you with that too. Then also we have a fear to uh, work in the cloud because we believe there could be risks like security risks, as well as we could incur unexpected expense by working in the cloud. Those are the main fears we have. But I'm trying to show you how you can get rid of that fear and drive away it so you can experiment anything on the cloud. Then finally, if you have any new idea that you want to try, cloud is the best place for you to try that, because you don't need any infrastructure setup or anything to try that out. So those are the main objectives that I wish to accomplish in this workshop series. And so we will be doing like 6 workshops in this workshop series. And today is the introduction to the cloud computing. So it will be mainly some discussing certain theories related to cloud computing. But then maybe at the end of at the end of today's workshop, we will be doing some actual cloud stuff like account creation and all. But next workshop will be totally a practical cloud stuff where you will be building a network, database, and set up firewalls and everything. Then the third workshop where we'll be hosting an application. So my plan is to host a simple PHP application in the cloud uh, and show you how to do that. And then we will be doing the performance. This is something I added new for this workshop series, because in the first workshop series I didn't do much about the performance. So we will be seeing how we can improve the performance, how we can monitor the performance for cloud applications with certain tools. Then we will be doing some serverless cloud computing, because that is another emerging area in the uh, cloud work. Uh, so if you want to uh, implement a serverless cloud application, we will be touching certain aspects of that too. And then finally, we will be learning about advanced cloud computing, such as pipelines, like how you automate, how do you run automated tests, how you build pipelines, how you set up infrastructure as code. All those advanced theoretical stuff we will be discussing as our final workshop. So that's basically what we'll be covering. And I just want to discuss with you why we want to do cloud computing uh, instead of a data center. So, do you guys have any experience with data centers? And I know, feel free to unmute yourself and speak.
When you say data centers, do you mean like
Local data.
Snowflake?
No, I mean a local data center where you host your applications in-house. Do you guys have any such experience with in-house data centers? Yeah, maybe not, but I come from before I moved to US, I was in an organization where we were maintaining our in-house data center. So there is a lot of work involved to just to maintain that infrastructure, not to maintain the application, but just to maintain that infrastructure. There is a lot of effort involved. So for instance, you need to have your physical space, rack space, then you need to have your air conditioners running. If there is any power failure, you need to have generators and everything, electric generators to generate power. Otherwise, you will have a downtime. So there are a lot of infrastructure needed. And so all of that infrastructure, you need some initial expenditure. But when you move to cloud, you don't have to worry over any of that. You can simply spin up a server and have your application up. So that is one main advantage of cloud computing. Then like easier it's easier to test new ideas because you don't have to pay anything upfront. You if in case your applications fail, you can just shut the thing down. Unlike a data center, if you do some initial investment, you will have to work, do something. You'll have to sell those infrastructure, or you'll have to think how you can recover the investment when it comes to data centers. But cloud computing is very much simpler to test new ideas. So improved reliability, that is one of the main advantages of cloud computing. Now, for instance, if I maintain a data center, I will have let's assume I have my data center in Chicago, and maybe I will maintain my disaster recovery site somewhere in Iowa City, like uh, almost 200-mile distance. So that's all I can afford to, because if I want to have another disaster recovery site, it will be a lot of expenses and won't be realistic. But when you move to the cloud, you can have multiple sites running without a significant expenditure, and also the services are very much reliable because they have redundancy already addressed in their infrastructure and everything. So you have much to worry about in terms of reliability. You can simply focus on your application logic, business logic, how you can add value to your application, to the business and everything. So improve scalability. Now, in a data center, you are limited to the capacity of your servers, but in the cloud you can scale infinitely. If you build a popular application, mobile application or web application, and if you have millions of users, and you can scale infinitely without much limitations, as opposed to a data center. So likewise, the scalability is another important thing that drives cloud computing. Then the security, because these cloud providers, they have employed experts, security experts in the fields. You can always be trusted that your data or your networks or your servers are highly secured, and the risks are very minimum in the cloud. I will discuss like certain myths about cloud security in the coming slides, but overall, it's improved security compared to a data center. So if I want to access my infrastructure, I can access it from anywhere from the world. I can access it from Iowa City, Chicago, or even from some Asian country. All these places, I can access the same infrastructure without any issues, without any network or anything set up purposely for the network access. Then, as I mentioned, you don't need to have this physical space or temperature control, all this infrastructure setup. You don't need with the cloud computing. And one other advantage is the skill transferability. Um, let's assume you gain some certification or experience with AWS, then you can easily transfer those skills if you get the chance to work in GCP or Azure or any other cloud provider, because they have a similar concepts, similar services, and their infrastructure and uh, the way they operate, the operations are very much similar between cloud providers. It's easy to transfer the skills you have gained in one cloud provider to the other. So this is the one that I wanted to talk with you about. We believe, because we are storing our data, we are operating our servers in the public cloud where everybody has access to. We believe it's unsafe or vulnerable, but that's not true because some part of this cloud infrastructure is controlled by us, while some part is controlled by the cloud provider. For instance, we'll take the AWS. So they say uh, they say cloud provider is responsibility for the security of the cloud, while the customer is responsible for security in the cloud. So what they mean by that is the cloud provider will provide the security, physical security for your servers, software, hardware, damage from theft, fire, or from natural disasters. They have redundant sites. So your data, software, everything will be safe in terms of the access and availability. But imagine a situation, I bring up a server and I open up the SSH port to the world, and I share the SSH key somewhere in one of the public Git repos. So then anybody can access my server. So those things are not responsibility of the cloud provider, but the customer. So likewise, it's always a shared responsibility between the customer and the AWS. Excuse me. And we won't be going into these specific components in detail, but you should know just know that it's not just one party's responsibility, but responsibility of both parties. Excuse me. So so far we have several cloud providers in the world, and we can see AWS has like 32% of the market share, and the Azure, then the GCP. But then again, there are some expertise that have been developed among these cloud providers. For instance, AWS, they are good with computing services, while the GCP, they say they are good with data storage, data analysis, those kind of work. So even though their market shares are different, they have their own expertise in terms of the services that they offer. Uh, Next, I want to touch with you on the learning paths that are available for you, because you can have you don't always need to code to be working in the cloud. If you have interest in a different area like architecting, or if you are interested in DevOps area, you can have your own roles and certifications in that area. So I'll just touch base on these paths that are available for you. So you can decide what you want to do in your future or after you graduate. So everybody, like any entry level person can acquire this cloud practitioner certificate. We had an intern from University of Iowa some time back, and during his summer internship, he got this cloud practitioner certificate, and he did some project on the cloud, and he ultimately got a return offer and currently working in my team. So likewise, if you want to look if you want to have some advantage or edge when you graduate, you can focus on this cloud practitioner certificate. It's kind of a little beginner thing. You can have you can find resources online to study for that exam and take the exam. Then after some exposure, you can try this associate level certificate based on interest. Like if you want to do like architecting, for instance, what you do is, okay, somebody comes to you with a system in mind, and you say, okay, we can use these AWS services to set up the servers. We can have this service to have the database. We can use this service as your data object storage. So this is how these services will communicate. Likewise, you can do architect, and you can have a diagram and then discuss trade-offs between each service. So if that is what you like, you can take the architect path. And sometimes you say, no, I still want to do the coding. I'm the coding guy likewise. So then you can take the developer route. So you will be working with Java or C or Python or whatever the language, and you will be coding for the applications that are hosted in the cloud. So you will be using Java commands, Java statements to access databases in the cloud, to access object storage in the cloud likewise. So that is for you. And sometimes some people don't like either. So they say, okay, I like to automate things. I like to uh, maintain Git repos, and then if somebody makes a merge request when the code is merged, I want to trigger a build where tests are automated, and then you publish a release for your application. Likewise, those kind of DevOps stuff some people are interested in. So they can take this SysOps administrator, and then if they want to dive deeper, they can pursue the professional level certifications also. And then there are some specialties that you can further master, like if you are into networking, security, machine learning, you can have all these specialty certifications also. Then I want to emphasize a few things about this AWS Community Builder program. So it's some recognition that they give for your contributions to the community. So they imagine a situation where you write a Medium article on how you can build an application in the cloud, or you say how you build a project and you say you are using two AWS services and show how they are going to interact. You set up the architecture and you mention how the code is going to work, all of that in a Medium article. That is recognized as a contribution to the society. Or maybe situation where you want to write some script to automate something in the cloud. So then you push that to a public repo, and maybe you can share that in your LinkedIn. So those kind of things that facilitate certain or automate certain things in the cloud, those will uh, be considered as contributions to the community. So if you have done few of those per year, you can submit the links to them in the community builder when the community builder when they are calling applications for the community builders. So it's a twice a year enrollment. Every year, 2 times they call applications, and you can submit your application, and then they will evaluate and see if it is significant content. You will be recognized as a community builder. So the benefits of the program is like you get access to a private Slack workspace where you can get help from other community builders and AWS developers working at the AWS. So it's a pretty, they tend to respond pretty fast compared to like in Stack Overflow in any other Q&A forum. And you also get to test new AWS services before they are released to the public. And every year you can do a free, you get a free exam voucher to do one AWS exam, and also like $500 you get to test new ideas in the cloud, and also you also get this free swags and stickers. So this is something I received a few months back. So it's the first year community builder swag kit. You get some stickers and everything, like few things that you can be happy about. Next, we are going to discuss about challenges in cloud computing. So AWS have established something called a well-architected framework for the application working for the application hosting in the cloud. So I will first go through this well-architected framework in very briefly, and then I will move on to the challenges with that. So this operational excellence means you are trying to do your ability to add business value by effectively using the cloud services. So you try to utilize the cloud services and see how you can improve the current value of your products. And then in the security, you try to reduce the risks of failures and security attacks for your services, for your applications using the cloud tools. Then the reliability, that means after if there is any failures, how you are going to recover from that and how you can avoid the failures. So you can have firewalls, you can have uh, private networks so that only those who are allowed or authorized can access those areas of your or of your network. So that is how you enforce reliability. Uh, then performance efficiency is uh, how you trade off between different services. For instance, if you want to do some computing, you can go to fully servered services, semi-serverless, or fully serverless services. So you try to find the best service for your application and then try to leverage on that. And on the other hand, based on the database requirements, you can decide whether you want a very structured relational database or NoSQL database. So all these trade-offs or the options you consider and you achieve the best performance efficiency in the cloud. Then cost optimization is where another important thing in cloud computing, because I would like to draw your attention to this small meme here. You may have already seen that sometimes you can end up being a poor person by keeping an EC2 instance on. So what could happen is if you don't shut down your servers after your work is over, they may incur some cost along the time, and then you will get a huge bill. But don't worry, in this workshop, before we start anything, we will have what we call the alert setup, billing alerts. So you will be notified if you are if there is any significant increase to your AWS cost account or the cost in your AWS account. Then in the sustainability, we are what we are trying to do is like get improve the or achieve the maximum benefit for the work by utilize achieve maximum benefit from provision resources by maximizing the efficiency of the workload. So if you think if you're using a car like a uh, different instance size currently, if you can reduce it because you don't have that much traffic, you try to be sustainable on that. And sometimes if you know that your application is going to run for a couple of years, for sure you can get the benefit of what we call the reserved instances, where we do an upfront commitment for 3 years and you pay a less amount. So likewise, there are different services associated with each of these pillars, and you can read more about that if you are interested. So feel free to ask any questions if you have. Uh, then one challenge in the cloud computing is trading off between these pillars, because now I'll give you one example where uh, let's assume that you want to have reliability, high reliability. So you cannot afford to have a single time downtime. Maybe so you have like two production environments running all 24/7, because in case there is a failure in one environment, you should be able to direct your traffic to the other production environment. So in that case, you will be paying double cost because you are compromising on the cost, but you take the benefit of high reliability. So likewise, it's a trade-off between these pillars. uh, it's a challenge when you want to do trade-offs between these pillars. But AWS clearly mentioned that you don't do trade-offs between operational excellence and security, because if we compromise on the security, we would face very adverse impacts. Like somebody may get access to your private data. For instance, if you are maintaining a healthcare system, and if your patient's healthcare information get leaked out to an external party, that will be like you will be taken to courts, and certain legal action will be taken against you. So in that situation, because of that, we don't usually compromise on the security and the operational excellence. What I told you was adding business value. So if you compromise on that, you will be losing business value. So we don't do that, but we always try to trade off between other pillars whenever it is possible. Then another challenge is the strict data border cross controls. So what I mean by that is sometimes certain governments, they have regulations. Our healthcare data cannot cross our geographical boundaries. Uh, so in such situations, we have to keep the data inside that country, maybe in a data center, but maybe the computing and other processing stuff we can do in the cloud. So those are unless you establish a data center, a cloud data center in that particular country, you cannot store the data in the cloud. So those are kind of challenges in the cloud computing, but there are options to work around that. So if you want to like find a job in cloud computing, you have these options. So I'm currently working as a site reliability engineer. We have DevOps engineers working in the cloud, solutions architect, cloud engineers, cloud developers, software engineers, and also who are experts in security, they can pursue the security engineer roles. So likewise, there are several cloud related industry roles that are available for you. Then I want to move on to this industry expectations, which I think will be useful to you. What does the industry expect from you when you graduate in terms of cloud? So uh, they expect like you have some experience with one or more cloud services, not a vast number of services, but a few at least. And then you have some programming experience with maybe Java or Python or C, uh, and then you should be able to use the libraries that are built for the cloud. For instance, Java has its own AWS SDK, then Python has its own AWS SDK. Likewise, certain libraries specific to the cloud providers you should be able to utilize in your coding. Then you at the interviews you are expected to talk about uh, uh, these aspects like scalability, efficiency, security, and cost in a very high level, not in much granular level. So sometimes they might ask you, okay, you are hosting this application in one server, how you can scale if your demand increases. These are like very practical and probable questions for interviews. So you must have given some thought and know how you can do this auto scaling based on the demand, based on the CPU usage, all these things. You should have some idea how you can do the scaling or how you can maintain redundancy in case application has a failure or there is a disaster. Then some experience with Linux. If you know how to SSH or remote desktop into a Windows instance, and then set like how you copy a file from a remote location, how you do some file manipulations using Linux commands. Uh, all those basic Linux commands and tools you should be familiar with, and some basic network skills like how the firewalls work, how the ports work, what are ephemeral ports, and how to troubleshoot network issues. What are layer 7, what are layer 4 protocols, what happens with HTTP, HTTPS, what is TCP, all this basic knowledge. You don't need to have like CCNA or any expert network certification, but little bit of knowledge, because you get to troubleshoot that even when you are a developer and not networking guy, you still have to troubleshoot some of these network issues when you are doing the coding. So let's begin our cloud journey. Do we have any questions from the slides before we move on to the actual work? So before we start do the account creation and everything, I want you to do one thing. First, you will need to download this mobile application called Google Authenticator. It should be available for both Android and iOS. Please have that downloaded. And then we are going to first create an AWS account. And then we will create what we call an IAM user account. And then we will create the billing alert so that you won't incur unexpected expenses from your cloud bill. For the root account creation, I want to have an account, email account that is not previously used with AWS. So if you don't have one, you can straight away go and create a Gmail free Gmail account and use that. I've created one Gmail account already, so I'm going to use that. If not, feel free to create one and we can go from there. Yeah, that's all, and we will move to the work now. So I'm going to uh, log into my Gmail account first so that I have that up in case I need to authenticate. So you can just search in the Google like AWS console, and you will be taken to a. You can go to this one, AWS management console, and from there you should be able to create your AWS account. If you already have one, you can skip these steps, but for a very beginner, I'm going to follow these steps. So you will need to have a. I'm going to use a information window, so it's. You can follow along with me. So you will need a debit or credit card, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get some credits for you. They should be ready next week. Uh, so you can come out of the free tier and try something on your own the cloud. So you can provide the email that you just created here, and then you can provide a name here. So I use my name. You can have your own name or some name like a nickname here. So that's it. And now they have sent a verification code, so I'm going to get that from my email. So a password, I'm going to, you can create a password that you remember. It's for personal projects. I'll put my phone number. So yeah. I'm going to stop sharing. I want to enter my credit card details. I'll continue sharing for that. I don't want to record this one. So you can use any your credit or debit card. Accept all this Discover, Visa, Master. Yes. You won't incur. This is just for like registration purposes. We can do most of the work that we do in this workshop in the free tier, so you won't incur a single cent uh, here. So you can provide the card number, expiration date, card holder name, everything. So I'm going to restart the sharing. I have finished with the credit card details.
Excuse me, which
Yeah,
usage should we put, personal or school? I feel like personal, right? But
personal. Yeah, you should use the personal. Yeah. Oh, you have the UI or mail, right?
yeah, I have.
If if you guys have the UI or mail, maybe the school one should still work. Uh, but even the personal one will work. Maybe I'm not sure, but you can try the school one if you get any extra benefit out of it, like some free credits for the first year. I'm not
Mhm.
sure, but you can continue either Gmail or UI or mail.
Thank you.
Yeah, probably. I think I'm sharing again. Let me get to the screen. So they are going to send me a verification. Oh, okay. So I'm going to select this basic support free tier thing, and I'm going to say complete sign up. You guys have any issues until up to this point? I hope you are good. So I'm going to complete the sign up, and then I'm going to access my console. So for the root user, I use the email address I provided. Because we still have only the root user created for our account. We have to use the root user, but next I'm going to show you how you create IAM user and then use that in the next login. So the password one I entered. Okay, so this is the first for the home screen we get when we log in. You guys see the console full screen now? Can somebody
Yes.
confirm? Okay, right. So first thing I want to show like a few things here. So I'm 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 selected for this Ohio region. Maybe US is selected as US East 1, maybe North Virginia. Uh, but you can change your default region as and when you want. So you have so many regions to select, but I'm selecting the Ohio. Well, select the US East one because that is a very common for the first of the regions actually. So US East one, and then you can see here uh, billing related stuff and some help. If you want help here, this is the help icon. But I think for the basic account, you don't get that much help. Like they have they don't respond pretty fast, unlike a business account. So it's good to it would be easier to troubleshoot issues maybe in the Stack Overflow rather than checking it here. And so here, this is one of the main menus here in the console, and they are like grouped to all the services are grouped here. But if you want to go to a particular service, you can always go here and search. So what we want to do first is we have to have the multi-factor authentication enabled for this root account. So to do that, we have to go to IAM, that is Identity Access and Management Service in the cloud in the AWS. So we go to that console by typing IAM. And here you can see when just in the home screen itself, you say add MFA for root user. So add multi-factor authentication for the root user, because in case if your password is compromised, you need to have access to your account, and so that nobody can do some crazy compute stuff in your account and give you a huge bill. So for that, we need to have this MFA enabled for security purposes. So we do that. We go to add MFA, and to do that, we have to have that Google Authenticator installed. So I'm going to I'm going to assign an MFA here, and what they will do, you can provide some name here, then you can have different multi-factor authentication methods. But what I ask you to download is this Google Authenticator, so it will be an authenticator app. So I select that option and I click next. Are we guys good following along with me? If you want me to slow down or wait here, please let me know. I have enough time. Even if it exceeds the 1 hour thing, I can still have extra minutes to finish this. So I'm going to use this Authenticator app and go next. And so here, when I click on the show QR button, it will show me a QR code that I'm going to scan with this Google Authenticator application. Okay. So I'm going to scan that one now. So if you're in the Google Authenticator app, you can add the plus. There's a plus icon in the application. You can click on that and select the scan a QR code, and you can scan it here, and it will automatically be added as a MFA account. So you will see. So after you add that, you have to provide two consecutive MFA codes. You will see there are like there is a 6-digit code that is refreshed every 30 seconds, I believe. So you need to enter two consecutive codes for this device to be successfully registered. So I have got one code now. So I'm enter it, and I'm waiting for the other code to appear. And then my device will be registered as an MFA. Okay, now you get MFA device assigned. So you can see here, it's a virtual device because we're using the authenticator app, and you have this identify everything set up properly. And yeah, that's all you need for the MFA setup. Now, if we go to the initial dashboard, you see that root user has MFA. If it is still showing as a red mark, you can refresh it and it will be a green light. So that's now we are good with our root account, but this root account is like administrator or like more of a God account, you have all the controls here, and no other user can limit the root users permissions. So we usually don't use the root account to do the cloud to use the cloud services. It is only for very rare purposes we use the root account. So do our regular work, we use the what you call IAM user. So I'm going to go to the users here and create an IAM user. So I can provide a name here for the user. I'm going to use something like this. And I want to provide the user access to the AWS management console. So I click on that, and they recommend something called to use an identity center. It is for very complicated situations where you have something like Active Directory and all those on-site, where you want to use on-site logging services, but we are going to use a very simple setup here. So I just don't want to use the recommended one. I want to create an IAM user, and auto-generated password is good for me. And I say users must create a new password at next signing. So I will be generating a random password, will be auto generated for now. But when I log in for the first time, I can override that. So I just leave this at user to group. So a new user group will also be created. And these I leave them as default because I don't want to have this boundaries or anything. Just this IAM user will be still working as an administrator, but not as powerful as the root user. So this is the username, password auto generated. All these things are correct. I say create user, and it will show me the password for the auto generate first time password. So I can copy that here, and I'm going to return to users list. So I can see the newly created user here, and I'm going to log in with that user now and create the MFA for that user. So let me log out now from the root account. So now I'm going to use IAM user. I forgot to mention you need to have this account alias or the account ID. If you don't remember that, we'll go back and get that. So until then, I'm going to save my password somewhere. The password that I copied, I'm going to save it somewhere. Then I'm going to use the root user again to now for the MFA code, you can go to the Google Authenticate and get that code, MFA code. So the 12-digit account, this is that 12-digit account ID. I'm going to copy that and have it saved somewhere. to log in as the IAM user. So I'm going to and then it asks me for the username. So this is the one I provided as the username, and the password I just copied when the user was created. It should ask me to reset this password now. Okay, so I can enter the old password. I'm going to enter the new password. Confirm password change. Okay. Now we are no longer in the root account, but the IAM user account. So I'm going to set up MFA for this IAM user as well. So the next time, in the next workshop, when we set up the network and everything, we can use the IAM user with MFA to log into the console. So this entire screen is called the console, and you can type the services here, or you can, if the services are available here, you can click from here too. It should put a red mark on the MFA, and I'm going to uh, what I'm going to do, we'll have to log into the administrator, the root account again, and do some because the user group we did create initially, we'll have to do that first. I'm going to log in with the root again. So we will need to add this user to the administrator. That's why we didn't have that many permissions there. All the permissions were in like red. But we can go to the console and add our user to the administrator user group. So you learn how to troubleshoot issues, right? So we didn't have any policies or permissions attached to our IAM user. That's why we were seeing all those red marks. You are not allowed to access this resource, likewise. So we go to user and we select this one. We select the user and we go to add user to groups. We should be able to get a administrator group here. Uh, we can go to we can add a permission here straight away, add permissions, and attach policies directly, and then we can add the administrate access. So we tick on this administrate access, so we'll have all the administrate access for the AWS account. So it will have access to all the services, not just the IAM, but all the administrate access. So we need to have that policy attached. Then we click on next. So this administrate access permission is added to our user. Let's see. Okay. Now administrate access enabled. So now it says enable without MFA. We should now be able to log in with the IAM user and enable MFA from that account. I hope this time it will work fine. Now we go back to the IAM. Okay, now those all red marks issue access issues are all gone. Now we can use the add MFA to add this user account also to our Google Authenticator. I know this was supposed to end around 1, but if you want to leave, feel free to. I'll be recording this and posting the link to you to view it. If you have time, you can stay here and finish this. So I'm going to put this name iPhone IAM. So I know this is the IAM account. Then I'll use the Authenticator app. So I'm going to use the Google Authenticate app again and display the QR code and go to the plus sign in the application and scan a QR code. I scan the QR code and I'm going to enter two consecutive MFA codes so that it's properly registered in the Google Authenticator. If you guys have missed any steps after the recording is over, we can have a time to go through. We can do a screen sharing and troubleshoot if you want to. Okay. MFA is added. Okay. So IAM user also now has MFA configured and account is safe. The next or the last thing I want to do is to set up that billing alert so you won't incur any unexpected expenses from this AWS account. So to do that, we go to a service called CloudWatch. Okay, it's cloud spellings are for like cloud and then watch. So you get it here, and there is a place where you can set up the value that you are comfortable with in terms of billing. So what I'm going to do is I go to the billing in this alarms section. I go to billing and I don't have any alarms here. So I'm going to go to create alarm. Then select metric. So it should be in the billing. Okay. Billing alarms. Right here. So metric is estimated charges. So let's assume you have started an EC2 instance. So you have created S3 bucket, and this metrics will check whether the estimate charge for 6 hours. If it is going to be something over $10 or $5, you can create this alert and it will send you an email to the registered email address that you are going to incur some expense. So I'm setting it as $5. So if my expense for 6 hours is going to be more than 5, so that's going to be like $20 for 24 hours. And if it is going to exceed that 5, I'm going to send an alert. So I say when it's triggering, it's going to like be in alarm. Then so I want to send a notification. I'm going to like create a new topic here, create new topic option, and then so it will create a new topic here, and I can put my email address so that I will be notified of any expenses that are going to exceed $5 per 6 hours. So I put that one and I say create new topic. So now I can select an existing topic and get that topic. So I will be,
I don't
this is
see an
the,
option for billing. It just goes in alarm, all alarms, and no billing under it.
I'm sorry?
On the CloudWatch, under
Yeah.
alarms,
Yeah.
I don't have an option for billing.
Yeah. Let me see. So you went to billing.
I don't have that option at all.
So did you click on here?
Mm-hmm.
Alarms. Did you expand this alarm section?
Mm-hmm.
So you have only in alarm and all alarms?
Yeah.
No billing?
No billing.
Are you in North Virginia region?
I am in Ohio.
Yeah, can you click on to North Virginia? Possible. If that shows the billing option for you.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, so that's how some of this North Virginia. Now just some information. So North Virginia is one of the AWS oldest regions, and all their new services come up in this North Virginia region first, and then move on to other regions. So it seems like the Ohio region still doesn't have billing alarms in that particular section. It has billing alarms, but maybe in a different place. But uh, if you are in the North Virginia region, you should have that under the CloudWatch alarms and billing. Okay, so let's go and do that. If anybody else has the same issue, that's how we can fix that. You switch to the North Virginia, and then we can start really quick. It's not a big deal. So so we have created the topic. Where did I get? Yeah, topic is there, so we don't need to create the topic again. So all these things we leave as default. Alarm name. We're doing alarm. Okay. So everything is good, then we are going to create alarm. Okay. So you have a warning here. If you watch closely, you see this section send a message to an SNS topic with an endpoint that is pending. It will not work until the endpoint confirmed. Okay. So what this says is the email address that we specified, it has not yet been confirmed for the for this alert. So we have to go there and fix that. So what we are going to do, let's see. Okay, we go to this service called SNS. Okay, and there you should see the topic. You can go to topics here, click here. So it says pending confirmation. Maybe we have received something in the email. We can check. Yeah. So it says you have chosen to subscribe. So this topic name is there, and we have to click on this confirm subscription button for this notification to work. So I'm clicking on that. So they say it's confirmed. And now if I refresh this, it should say as confirmed and okay. And that warning also must have gone now. Yeah, so just there is no warning anymore here. Uh, and we are good for what we were planning to do for today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to. Sorry about the confusions earlier where you had to log in and log out from the root account multiple times because I didn't want to do everything before the workshop, account creation, everything because sometimes I might miss few steps and you might encounter an issue that I didn't encounter. And so because of that, I never wanted to do this like a rehearsal before I start the workshop, and I was doing it with you guys. So sorry about that confusion, and I hope everyone has followed up to this point now. Are we good?
All good. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks everyone for joining. If you guys have any question, feel free to stay. I will stay for another maybe few minutes until all you guys leave, and then stop the recording, and uh, I'll share the recording with you all. Thanks everyone for joining.